Compelling talk you can count on. This is the Mildred Gaddis Show on News Talk AM 1200 and 99.9 FM WCHB.
Well, to a large degree, the verdict boils down to this testimony today. Did Ted Wafer have an honest and reasonable fear that he was in danger when he opened fire on Renisha McBride? Today, he had his chance to convince the jury. Ted Wafer told the jury he was in fear when pounding on his doors interrupted his sleep. It was 4:30 in the morning.
Scared.
Have you ever felt so scared in your life?
No.
What's your heart feeling like at this moment?
Racing.
He said the pounding went back and forth from the side door to the front door.
Each time it's getting more violent. It's escalating. Yeah, the floor was vibrating from the banging on the doors.
His lawyer asked him why he didn't call 911.
I'm trying to find myself.
Did you look for him?
He said he could never see a person outside. He never heard a voice. If he was that afraid, why did he open the front door?
I thought they were going to come through, and I was not going to cower. I didn't want to be a victim in my own house. I went to that front door because the last threat was on the side door.
Wafer says when he opened the door, a figure moved suddenly from the left and onto his porch. He fired.
Why did you pull it?
It was a total reflex reaction. Defended myself.
Wafer says he saw Renisha McBride fall back like it was in slow motion. Wafer showed no emotion until his lawyer asked if he thinks about McBride and her family.
Every day. So devastating. This poor girl. She had her whole life in front of her. I took that from her.
And when the cross-examination began, Assistant Prosecutor Athena Syringas all but accused Wafer of putting on those tears for the jury. They also played a tape of Wafer making a statement before the Dearborn Heights police back at the police station in an interrogation room. That has never been seen before, and we will share that with you at 6 o'clock. Reporting live, I'm Roger Weber, Local 4.
The prosecutor on this case pointed out, saying that Wafer had been emotional during his testimony, crying on and off, and asked him if he reacted that way after the shooting. The prosecution played about an hour's worth of video, which had been transcribed, that showed police talking with Wafer after the shooting. 6:11 this evening in the Motor City. Attorney Gerald Thurswell of the Thurswell Law Firm is joining me. He represents the family of Renisha McBride in the civil lawsuit. He's been honored as one of the best lawyers in America, the oldest and most respected peer review publication in the legal profession. Good evening, Counselor.
Yes, Mildred.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Fine. I'd like to know your assessment of what you've seen and heard about the trial in court today.
Well, when Ted Wafer testified, he appeared to be all choked up, and as was quoted earlier, he was crying when he talked about Renisha McBride having been killed, this young girl. What happened was, after that, they then showed an interview with him at the Dearborn Police Department. He knew that it was a young girl that had been killed, and he wasn't choked up. He wasn't teary-eyed. He showed absolutely no emotion. In fact, during the interview with him, he was talking about his van and how he carries a kayak up to Tawas City and he goes kayaking, and it was just totally inconsistent with the testimony that the defense attorney elicited from him. It was very, very interesting. During the testimony elicited by the defense attorney, he indicated that there had been break-ins in the neighborhood, that there was drug paraphernalia found on his lawn, and that there had been crime in his neighborhood. On the other hand, when he was interviewed just a couple hours after the shooting, after he had killed her, the only crime that he was talking about in his neighborhood is somebody took a paintball gun and shot it at his car. It was very totally different testimony that he gave in court today from that interview. In addition, when they asked him about what happened, he said he was mad. He said he was full of piss and vinegar. Totally inconsistent with somebody being in fear of his life. He was just angry who was knocking on his door.
You know, when you listen to what he had to say today, one has to wonder about the way that the sequence of events were explained. They sort of didn't make sense. Let's talk about that right after this break, okay?
Sure.
It's 6:15 in the Motor City. I'm Mildred Gaddis. You're listening to the Mildred Gaddis Show, and we're talking about the defendant in the Renisha McBride case. 568-1200 if you have a question or comment. It's 6:18 in the Motor City. I'm Mildred Gaddis, attorney Gerald Thurswell, my guest here. We're talking about the Renisha McBride case. The defendant in the case, the owner of the home, Mr. Wafer, testified today. Were you surprised that he got on the witness stand?
No, because the only way he can prove self-defense is to say that he had honest, reasonable belief that he was in fear for his life or great bodily harm. And the only way that would come out is if he testified. So he had to testify. They didn't have a choice.
It's you know, what seems to be unbelievable for a lot of people is the cell phone story and the fact that he opened the door at 1-something in the morning, whatever time it was, to someone he did not know and shot through the screen door. That's what people are having difficulty grappling with.
I think we all do. But he said that the way he tried to defend himself was that he was not going to be a victim in his own home. He wasn't going to let somebody come in and kill him or injure him. He said he wasn't. I think the word he used, I wasn't going to cover in my own house. I wasn't going to let somebody come in and hurt me, which is absolutely ridiculous. Think about it. But this is what he said to the police department. He said, when somebody was knocking on my door, I didn't know if somebody was knocking because they needed help. I didn't know if it was a neighbor of mine who wanted something. This is what he said. So when he goes to the door and he hears all this banging, if he's thinking in his mind, I didn't know if it was somebody who needed help. I didn't know if it was a neighbor. What do? You talk through the door and you say, who is it? What do you want? Alternatively, what he could have said is, whoever's there, go away. I just called 911. But he decided not to talk. He decided to take his gun. Interesting today, too, they asked him when he took the safety off the gun. And he said, I don't remember. When he got in the police scout car, the testimony that was recorded in the scout car was that he didn't even know that there was a bullet in the gun. So if he didn't know there was a bullet in the gun, how did he then come about to take the safety off? And if he doesn't know there's a bullet in there, why do you pull the trigger with an empty gun? Doesn't make sense.
That is interesting to note.
It's incredible. But what he was up there, and when he was crying, he was getting all choked up with these crocodile tears. Two of the jurors, I noticed, were similarly crying, feeling sorry for him.
Oh,
so I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I don't know. I know when they showed pictures of Renisha dead on the porch, several of the jurors were crying then too. So it's a very, very emotional trial. I don't think Ted Wafer opened that door thinking I'm going to go kill somebody. I think he opened up the door, he had the gun loaded, he took the safety off, and that created a risk of great bodily harm or death. And that's all they have to prove to find him guilty. And he sees her, and then he pulls the trigger. So he doesn't have to have the intent to kill her. He just has to create a situation that would be likely to create great bodily harm or death.
Well, wanted to check in with you to get your assessment of this. Attorney Gerald Thurswell, when do you expect this thing to wrap up?
Well, I think tomorrow morning the prosecutor is going to cross-examine Ted Wafer again. It may take 2.5 hours. I would suspect that in the afternoon tomorrow, both the prosecution and the defense will give their closing arguments. The judge will instruct the jury either tomorrow or early Wednesday morning, and then the jury will start deliberating sometime on Wednesday.
You think that the jury may start deliberating as early as Wednesday?
Yes, I truly believe that.
Now that's going
Can I say something, and I
Yes.
don't know if this is appropriate, and I don't know if
Go
this
right
is
ahead,
right or
please.
wrong to say, but the defense attorney said something. You have to remember there are 4 blacks on the jury, everybody else is white. The defense attorney said something that really struck me. She used a buzzword. She said to Ted Wafer, to try to show that he was frightened, he was so scared because of break-ins in the neighborhood or drug paraphernalia, she said to him, oh, so the neighborhood was changing and people who you had known for years were moving out. Isn't that a buzzword for some type of...
Yes, it is.
I did not like that at all.
Let me ask you
I
something.
don't think it was racial in the sense that he shot her because of race, but I don't know if defense counsel was trying to appeal to the prejudices of the jury by innuendo, by suggestion.
You know what? In addition to that, I'm surprised the prosecution didn't check that, because that would have been the first thing that came to my mind after. Wow.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that being said because race had never been an issue in this case from day one. I don't think that he shot her because of race, but I think defense counsel threw that out there to play on the prejudices of the jurors. That's what I think. I don't know, of course, but I don't like those buzzwords.
No, those are code words, counselor. I got to tell you, I know. You can reach Attorney Gerald Thurswell at the Thurswell Law Firm at 866-354-5544. That's 866-354-5544. Attorney Gerald Thurswell, thanks for talking with us. We'll talk again before this case ends. Appreciate you sharing your time.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.